Lena had 5 days left to finish the application. She wanted this job more than she had wanted one in a long time. She sat down at her desk in the morning, opened the document and looked at the first empty line. Then she closed it. She made tea, she cleared the cups from her desk. She replied to 2 messages that could have waited. She even found a video about how to stop procrastinating and watched all of it. By the evening, the document was still empty, and she felt worse than when she started. So why do we put off the things we care about most, not the small tasks we never really intended to do but the ones that matter, the ones we keep telling ourselves are important? Procrastination is easy to misread. We often describe it as laziness or weak willpower, but for many people, laziness is not the most useful explanation. An important task can create uncomfortable feelings before any real work begins. You may feel uncertain about where to start. You may worry that the result will not be good enough. You may imagine being judged once someone else sees it. Sometimes the task feels boring, confusing, or too large to hold in your mind all at once. Lena did not avoid the application because she did not care. Because it mattered, the possibility of doing it badly felt harder to ignore. When you step away from a task that makes you uncomfortable, the discomfort often drops quickly. Cleaning the desk feels calmer, replying to a small message feels like progress. Watching a productivity video feels close enough to working that it quiets the guilt for a while. That relief is real and it arrives immediately. The cost of avoiding the task comes later, a closer deadline, rushed work, and disappointment in yourself. So in the moment, avoiding can feel reasonable, even when another part of you knows it will create more stress later. This is how delay becomes a pattern. The task appears, discomfort rises, you step away, the discomfort falls. Each time avoidance produces relief, it becomes easier to choose again. The next day, the task is still there, but now the deadline is closer and guilt has been added to the original worry. The task feels heavier and the urge to avoid it becomes stronger. The loop tightens. Not all procrastination follows this exact pattern. Exhaustion, anxiety, depression, ADHD, burnout, unclear expectations, or simply having too much to do can also make starting difficult. If beginning almost anything has felt impossible for a long time, it may be worth discussing with a qualified professional. But for the everyday procrastination many people recognize, the pattern is often emotional. The task feels uncomfortable and avoiding it feels better for a moment. So what can help? One useful idea comes from the Japanese word kaizen. Kaizen can be translated as change for the better and is closely associated with continuous improvement through manageable changes rather than occasional bursts of effort. Online, kaizen is sometimes reduced to becoming exactly 1% better every day. That is a modern simplification. The broader idea is more useful: make the change small enough that you can repeat it. For procrastination, this matters most at the beginning of a task. Most of us picture the whole task at once: the complete application, the full report, the entire workout, or the difficult conversation from beginning to end. When we represent the task as one enormous block, starting can feel like lifting all of it at once. Kaizen points in the other direction. Shrink the first action until it no longer feels like confronting the whole task. Do not finish the application. Open the document and write one rough sentence. Do not complete the workout, put on your exercise clothes. Do not write the entire difficult email, write only the subject line. Do not read the full chapter, read one paragraph. The goal is not to trick yourself into finishing everything, although you may continue once you begin. The goal is to reduce the emotional cost of starting. A task that begins with one visible action is usually easier to approach than a task that exists in your mind as one large, undefined demand. Try this for the next 7 days. Choose one task you have been avoiding, then define the smallest visible first action you could take in less than 5 minutes. It might be opening the file, writing one sentence, placing the materials on the desk, reading one page, or creating the email draft without sending it. At the next planned time you work on the task, do only that first action. You are allowed to stop afterwards. You are also allowed to continue, but continuing is a bonus, not the requirement. Then notice what happens. Does starting feel different once the task is no longer one large block but one small action you have already proved you can do? Lena tried this with her application. Her first action was to write one imperfect sentence at 9 in the morning. Some days she wrote the sentence and stopped. On other days the sentence became a paragraph and the paragraph became a page. The application did not come together in a calm or perfect way, but it did come together because starting had stopped being the hardest part of her day. Procrastination does not always mean that you do not care. Sometimes the task matters so much that beginning feels emotionally difficult. When that happens, pushing harder may not be the best first move. Start smaller. Awareness is often more useful than self-blame. If you enjoy calm explanations of everyday behavior, subscribe for more. And that is why we do that.